Assassin's Creed Mirage is a controversial game. Most people that played it at launch thought it was just a generic Ubisoft game, although while the old school fans were feasting. I think most people didn't give this game a fair shot, and the old school fans were just relieved to play an AC game with stealth and parkour as a main focus. I wanted to find out if this is an actually good game without falling on either side of the dilemma. First, I will have to give my backstory. I started the series with AC Odyssey, and although I recognize that it is not a great game, I love it nonetheless, and that is absolutely because of nostalgia. Then I played Valhalla and enjoyed it, but not nearly as much as Odyssey. And then I played Origins, which I also loved. After that, I played the Ezio trilogy, which was fun, but I found them very overrated. Then Assassin's Creed 3, which I found boring, and Unity, which frustrated me with its bugs. Unity is now seen as an underrated game, but when everyone sees it as underrated, is it really underrated or just not that good? That is a whole other topic though. When Mirage came out, I didn't play it precisely because I didn't like the older games as much as the RPG trilogy. Well, now, quadrilogy. But I later got bored and bought it on a sale, and I had a great time. I beat it on hard, and ended up permadeath, and I beat that in only a few attempts. I don't have any footage of beating it on permadeath, all I have is this screenshot. I think this game regressed from the RPG games in significant facets, but also regressed in major ways from the OG games, making it, in my opinion, not a great Assassin's Creed game. There's tons of fun to be had, but it is, in my opinion, an underbaked Ubisoft game. I want to start with gameplay, and specifically combat. The combat is generic and functional at best, and clunky and boring at worst. I know that a blade in the crowd doesn't exactly need to be a combat powerhouse, and I always appreciated the entries in the series where you die quickly, but this doesn't mean there can't be depth. There is a sweet spot to be found between immersion through difficulty and depth in the combat, and Mirage doesn't find this sweet spot. I think on the hardest difficulty, the combat is still too easy. Just throw a smoke bomb, and if you don't have any of those, throw a knife, or a dart, or just parry, which is not hard. It is just too easy, and if you exclude the instant win gadgets from the combat, it is just so bare bones. Just a light attack, a heavy attack, and a parry. There's also a kick, which is pretty much useless. I think the combat is bad and pretty undefendable. It would have been better if it was just harder, that would have taken care of one of the problems, but that wouldn't fix it. It is just fundamentally bad. Combat is hardly this game's strong suit. It is clearly supposed to be stealth and parkour. I'll dissect parkour first. Parkour is not just the available moves, it is also the plane in which you use these moves. The world is excellently designed. Paths to take everywhere in all kinds of different ways, different parkour routes are intertwined. My mind boggling with all the ways to traverse these dense streets, and yet there's nothing. Absolutely no depth. Traversal is still just hold forward and X or A or spacebar or whatever. This is one of the ways where old and new Assassin's Creed was combined and it just doesn't work. I was fine with this lack of depth in the RPG trilogy because there was nothing to traverse with this depth, but that is not the case here. This is a squandered opportunity because the foundation is there and it was just not utilized properly. I understand the statement, we should be happy with the improvements made, but I don't agree. The devs did show some passion because they improved side and back objects, making them viable, but they are still pretty useless because the world isn't designed around them. How does a 16-year-old game have better parkour than this? I don't care that it is made in the AC Valhalla engine. Ubisoft's monumental laziness might explain this type of mischance, but it does not excuse it at all. I know I started with the world design a little earlier, but I want to go more in depth. The world that is crafted here is beautiful and rich with information. I have always liked the historical accuracy in Assassin's Creed games. Playing Odyssey made me a nerd in Greek history. You can find these historical facts lying around, and I always enjoyed them. I know many people aren't into reading during their gaming session, but I love these. I also love that the outer ring of Baghdad is poor, and the more you go inwards, the richer and more vibrant the streets get. There are also tons of people in the city with admittedly terrible AI, but they still succeed in their purpose of making it feel like the place is alive. The devs admitted that they took a lot of creative liberties creating Baghdad because historical records are very cryptic about the city. I also love that you get to fully customize the UI. You can really make it feel like a movie. Their world is one of the best parts of this game, and the biggest reason I come back to it as often as I do. I feel this takes me right into graphics and performance. I can't comment on the performance on PC, but on PlayStation 5 it is a mixed bag. Although frame rate was pretty consistent, I did get a lot of screen tearing. It was in rough patches. Sometimes I would play for hours without a tear, and sometimes I would get them all the time. Graphics are another strong suit of this game. I don't know what god they bribed to get it looking like this, but this is one of the best looking games I've ever played. I don't know if it's dynamic lighting or ray tracing, but it looks great nonetheless. And then stealth. The stealth is simple and satisfying. I think it's a fun way to play the game and definitely more fun than combat, but it is also a bit too easy in my opinion. You can always spam knives, darts, or smoke bombs, which are all a bit overpowered, and there are an abundance of them. And even if you don't have any more tools, you can just refill them at the merchant. I feel that the tools have a divide between useless and overpowered. The knives and darts and smoke bombs are great, but the noisemakers and traps are, in my opinion, pretty useless. The traps could have a use, but I didn't find them.
Who's there across us anyway?
And even fully upgraded noisemakers are just pretty nothing.
Hey, what?
What just happened? Could be dangerous.
And then there's Assassin's Focus. This is a tool that allows you to zip between a few enemies, and in some cases, it is also overpowered. You get it back by killing enemies, which you do a lot of. Then you get to kill 2 to 5 enemies depending on your upgrades for free. There are upsides, which are the cheeky ways you can use it. For instance, I killed an enemy on top of a fortress to then jump over the wall. I felt really smart for using my focus in this cheeky way. The stealth in a vacuum is also pretty good. It is just simple and fast. Just kill enemies on your path using bushes or high ground. The locations are well designed and usually very vertical, which I like in stealth games. Overall, the stealth is good and better than all the RPG games just because you have options. Always a choice of using tools, focus, or just the way that God intended. It always entertains. This brings me to the sandbox missions. In these missions, you are told that you have multiple ways to kill the target, and you have to learn and listen to find them. These suck. There's always one way to kill the target, and there might be 2 or 3 to get to them, but they all end the same. I'm not asking for Hitman levels of open mission design, but this is just a normal mission. The Treasurer's mission is especially bad about this. Absolutely no variation. Always listen to the same people, and then steal the coin and kill the target. The fun part of the sandbox mission design is that you can do cheeky stuff with the information you get in previous runs. But in most of these missions, you have to listen to the same people and do the same things. Barely any skips to be found. The final one is the best, with 3 ways to get into the large dome and 2 ways to get into the library. These are not where they could or arguably should be as sandbox missions, and they never fail to underwhelm.
Me.
The game is pretty short. At least the main story is. It is about 12 hours, and with most of the side content included, it's about 20 hours. The contracts are good, just more generic missions, which I don't have a problem with. Steal this thing, kill that one, that's pretty much it. I like the side bonuses, get extra rewards by not getting spotted or not taking damage and things like that. It's fun, and it gives you more time to understand the game's mechanics. Here is a spoiler warning. If you want to enjoy this, don't continue the video. You're not missing out on much though. As a pickpocket with quote grave ambitions and a friend called Nihal, he dreams of a demon consistently, and he wants to join the assassins and he wants to do their missions for them to get a shot at joining them. You eventually join them because Roshan sees potential in you, and you get to the training sequence in Alamut. This is tedious, but I think for a reason, because it is supposed to be long and boring, because training to be an assassin is hard and boring. So Roshan trains you, and you form a bond. You get to Baghdad, and from here the story falls into the background a bit. There are small contained stories, but these are pretty uninteresting, and the demon in your head keeps haunting you. It becomes clear that Roshan knows something she doesn't want you to know. At the end of the game, it picks up again. You go back to Alamut to open the temple, and Roshan tries to stop you because she doesn't want your past to harm your future, whatever that means. You fight her, and I like that people who try to use their own tactics against her, being throwing knives, allows you to skip half the fight. The boss is decent, but it actually glitched out for me, and it just looked hilarious. Anyone that played Valhalla would know that Basim becomes the reincarnation of Loki, and it is revealed that Nihal was an hallucination caused by Loki in Basim's mind. Why did it look like Nihal? Well, that should be obvious. Loki is the god of trickery, and he was just in disguise. The demon in Basim's head was Odin bullying Loki. Why would Loki pick someone on the other side of the world? Who knows? Why would no one question why Basim was speaking with nothing? No idea. So there are some small plot holes. In Valhalla, Eivor and Sigurd reject the god attempting to enter their mind, but Basim accepts Loki, and the two become one. At the end, you see Basim's falcon attacking him, and this symbolizes that Basim is no longer the same man. This story sounds decent, however, it is told in such a way that it is spread out so much that the middle becomes uninteresting, and at the end, you don't care who Nihal is, but overall, it's fine. There's also a problem of presentation, because the voice acting is cheeks,
Much of my childhood was spent along these streets, finding friendship with rats and roaches.
and there's no motion capture, so the NPCs just look so lifeless.
Me.
If you've made it this far, I thank you very much, and I hope I see you the next time.